Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel. Merry Christmas, everybody. I know Santa came, gave you guys a bunch of coal, nice black pieces of rock, but Vanguard came through this Christmas holiday, delivering massive dividends for your quarter four payout. Ain't that right, Bert?
Yeah, we might just start calling him Santa Bogle now for everything that he was delivering us. It is excellent, and we are amped up here to talk about it. But before we do, smash that subscribe button, everybody. Give us a thumbs up. At least give Lady and I that stocking present after all is said and done. Subscribe to our channel, like it. We would appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for your support throughout 2021. We cannot wait for 2022. But this is huge. This is big news, everybody. This is, oh my goodness, there is going to be a lot of cash thrown your way here from Vanguard. So thank you very much, Lanny. We are pumped up to talk about this.
For those Vanguard investors or new investors that are looking to invest with Vanguard, it's a great place, or great, mutual funds and ETFs for those that want to have a no nonsense, lack of monitoring individual stocks investment style. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to the channel or the Dividend Diplomats blog, but I own a ton of Vanguard. I own a ton of Vanguard dividend yield. Bert owns a ton of Vanguard through his 401k provider as well. And Bert, do you have any other Vanguard investments as well?
Yeah, I have a few VYM, a few other low expense ratio ETFs, and that's always the big thing too. Vanguard's ETFs have a tiny micro, less than 10 basis point exchange traded fund. They've really pioneered that. Let's make it affordable for individual investors to help grow their money and push towards retirement here.
Exactly. And Bert and I today, we could have spent all the time talking about how the S&P 500 just set new record highs, bursting over 47.25 to finish off the Christmas week. We could have talked about Omicron, all the other, chaos that's happening right now related to COVID-19 patients, but no. We're here to talk about Christmas and Vanguard delivering gifts. So what does that mean?
So that means we're talking about the year-end dividend and capital gain distribution that all funds typically announce in December. So we know a lot of funds will pay some monthly, some quarterly, but at the end of the year, they take a look, they take a step back, and they pay out capital gain distributions to their shareholders as well. So that December dividend is always massive for shareholders because it's a component of your actual dividend and your distributions throughout the year, which lead to huge results.
Yeah, and if you own ETFs, it's just a dividend. Now, for the Vanguard ETFs, they're just treated as a dividend, and all you see is a dividend payout. So Bert's really referring to within the mutual funds, a lot of different payouts within those.
Because so said I own the mutual funds I own mostly mutual funds in my retirement account. So that's where my head is always at when I'm thinking about the Vanguard December distributions.
And the Vanguard mutual funds really haven't released their schedules out yet, but the ETFs are hot and heavy here. They came just before the Christmas holiday. And I was pretty happy to see Santa Bogle come down the chimney here. We're going to talk about three ETFs that I own in my portfolio. I think Bert owns at least two of them, possibly. They're probably one of the most popular one is on this list that we're going to talk about, but really we're going to set the stage here. We're going to talk about the three ETFs. We're going to talk about the Q4 dividends, and then we're going to compare all of that to the Q4 dividend in 2020, as well as year over year total dividend payout to see, hey, is it up actually overall? And what does this mean going into 2022? So Bert, do you want to take the first big one?
I shouldn't, but I will, because the first big one is Vanguard's high dividend yield ETF VYM. For everybody here that may be newer to our channel, and for all of you, you're not going to be surprised it's the first one, and why Laney's honing in on this one first, because he has been buying Vanguard every single week for him and his wife for almost, 18 months now, Laney?
18 months going strong, and let me tell you guys something. There ain't stopping me from buying Vanguard VYM.
So there's a reason why he was hyper-focused on that Vanguard dividend growth, VYM, especially because it was an interesting 2021. When you start peeling them back, there were some surprise quarters, some fantastic quarters, and then there was this random one in the middle of the year where you're just scratching your head like, wait, what is going on with VYM? So Andy, why don't you tell us what was the Q4 dividend that was just announced and compare that to the previous Q4?
So Vanguard's VYM just gave us a nice 93.86 cents for quarter 4. Now this compares very favorably to the 80.96 cents in Q4 of 2020. That, my friends, is a 16% dividend increase in the Q4 alone. Now, Bert made a great mention here, though, because there were 2 other quarters where they did grow quarter over quarter back at Q1 and Q3, but Q2 was actually down by about 10% versus Q2 of 20. However, overall, this is why I buy this ETF, because it's the perfect combination of yield and growth, and it really stays in tune with what I'm expecting. So in the year, they paid $3.09.61. Last year, they paid $2.90.57. So year over year, that's a 6.55% growth year over year in the dividend, Bert.
That's insane too, because when you think about it, their dividend yield is always close to around that 3% mark, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, based on what's going on in the stock market. So you take that near 3% yield, you add in that 6.55% dividend growth rate, that gives you a near 10% dividend growth factor, which is fantastic for the ETF. That's usually what we like to see for all the dividend stocks that we're looking to buy. So VYM, you can tell it matches our investment strategy, because it's the yield and dividend growth rate on an annual basis that matches the exact style that we look for with individual stocks.
That's what I love. And I mean, the yield now is also, much better, because they pay close to $3.10 now per year. So again, it kind of further helps justify that $110 stock price to Vanguard's VYM. So guys, VYM 16% Q4 21 versus Q4 20, and up over 6.5%+ year over year.
But let's keep the show going here, Lanny. Let's move into that second ETF that you have. We're going to actually move to the other side of the Atlantic here to talk about the second ETF. The other one is the Vanguard European ETF that you own, ticker symbol VGK. Some of the top holdings are going to have your Nestle, your Shell, and all the major corporations that you typically see in Europe. So you're not moving far from your investment strategy of what you do for some of these other funds, landing right over there, just in Europe.
Exactly. No, I mean, you said it. You said it there, Bert.
So what exactly happened with VGK? So we just saw what? VYM just had a 16% year over year dividend increase. So let's take a look here for that fourth quarter VGK dividend. They just announced a 67.81 cent dividend for Q4 2021. Compare that to, oh man, I can't wait to tell everybody this one. The Q4 2020 dividend was 37.79 cents. So think about that, everybody. You heard those numbers. That was a 79% growth rate.
All right. But Bert, how did VGK perform, year over year then?
My bad. From an overall dividend standpoint, so let's talk about the total dividend, the summation there to see, was that just an anomaly there in the fourth quarter? In total, they paid $2.08.1. Last year, they paid $1.27.38 as well. We'll throw that on there. That was, the dividend grew 80 cents compared to last year, so 63%.
Holy smokes! A Vanguard's international ETF, VGK, or again, not many people really talk about VGK. I've owned it a lot in my portfolio over the last, probably closing in on 10 years. Again, it's a European stock index ETF. They had a very tough 2020, but every quarter actually blew 2020's results out of the water, from Q1 all the way through Q4. So here we are sitting on a nice 63% dividend growth rate to Vanguard's VGK. Bert, what do you expect from this going into 2022?
I mean, it's kind of hard to set the expectations right now, because I don't think you can expect a 63% year over year dividend increase. I think that's going to be tough for any company, any fund to achieve. So I would expect it to probably normalize a little bit. So where the expectations lie, probably closer to VYM in the long run, but it could take, it's got to average down at some point. So it could be 20%, it could be 30%, it could be 5%, it could be 10%. It's going to be an interesting year for VGK there. So let's move in, landing that third one, that third final fund that you own here. And this one's so boring compared to the last two, at least from a fund perspective. It is ticker symbol VOO. And I mean, come on, everybody. We know what VOO trends. They're stock market ETF, boring S&P 500 ETF, not a high dividend focus, not a European dividend focus, just a good old boring stock market index.
Yep, and in VOO, Vanguard's, S&P 500 ETF was very similar to the other two ETFs we just talked about. Now, they didn't have a 16% growth like VYM. They didn't have a 79% growth like VGK, but they still stayed in the double digits. Q4 2021 from Vanguard's VOO. Again, all you Vanguard investors out there, I know all the beginner and new investors out there love Vanguard's VOO. That Q4 dividend was $1.53.29, and that is very much a nice growth rate of 10.85% versus Q4 is $1.38.29.
Yeah, and I mean, it was overall from a full year perspective here for VOO, shareholders received $5.43 compared to $5.30 last year. So the overall growth rate for VOO, it wasn't that great. It was 2.53% on a year-over-year total aggregated basis. When you start peeling back the quarters, though, you can start to see why the growth rate wasn't as strong. Lanny, you want to talk about the quarterly distributions here and compare them to the previous year?
Yeah, so Vanguard's VOO, again, Q4 beat Q4 of 20, but Q3 stayed pretty much flat versus Q3 of 20, really stayed at that $1.30.84. So really stayed the exact same. The tough part was Q2, and it seemed like that was a pretty common one with VYM as well. Vanguard's VOO's Q2 2021 dividend was only $1.33.29. So that compared unfavorably to Vanguard's $1.43.33. So down about 7%. So that's kind of where the impact was on the year-over-year growth rate. Right from there, Q1 21 beat Q1 2020, but it was pretty much a moot point after Q2 happened. So really the growth came from this Q4.
Thanks, Lanny. So everyone, here to summarize, let's just take a step back here and look at these three funds that just jacked up Lanny's Q4 dividend. We actually have three very different stories here from these three funds. VYM demolished it with a 15.93% year-over-year increase compared to Q4. VGK demolished it, destroyed it, threw some elbow drops, they stone cold stunned it, and then they tombstoned it with a 79.4%. For VOO, the most modest of the group with only an 11% year-over-year increase there. So Lanny, how are you feeling? How are you feeling this Christmas because of Vanguard and how these three funds paid you out?
I'm keep investing in Vanguard's VYM going into 2022. I can't believe I'm still trudging along. I'm very hopeful. I currently own 255 plus shares, and there's no stopping that count up right now in the numbers. I think Vanguard's ETFs are going to be very strong. So all you investors, new investors, beginner investors, should be very happy about what you're currently receiving from the Vanguard ETFs, but you should be very hopeful that 2022 should be much better than 2021.
Excellent. I'm pumped to hear that you're keeping that strategy going, Lanny. So everybody, let us know how your Vanguard ETF distributions are coming along in the comment section below. We're excited to hear how much you benefited from this. And if you're noticing the same trend with all the ETFs that you own outside of VYM, VGK, and VOO, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Hey, guys, again, thanks for an amazing 2021. It's been great. 2022 is going to be even freaking better.
Appreciate the support. Keep investing. Guys, that was Bert the Hurt and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.